Ever wondered how much truth lies in the Alamo myths that we've grown up hearing? Today, we're about to set the stage for a deep dive into the heart of these stories. The ones that have been passed down through generations. The ones that have shaped our understanding of history. Nestled in the heart of Texas, the Alamo stands as a symbol of resilience and defiance. It's a place where in 1836, a small group of Texan defenders stood their ground against an overwhelming Mexican force. A place of legend, a place of myth, a place that has sparked countless debates and discussions. In this video, we are going to unravel the tapestry of the Alamo, thread by thread. We'll delve into the events that unfolded there, separating the wheat from the chaff, the facts from the fiction. So, hold on to your hats, mates, as we journey back to 1836, to the heart of Texas, the Alamo. First up, the legendary 13-day siege, fact or fiction. Let's dive right in and unpack this piece of history. There's been a lot of chatter about the so-called myth of the 13-day siege of the Alamo. The story has been told and retold, often with a sprinkle of embellishment, like a good yarn around a campfire. But let's set the record straight. The 13-day siege is not a tall tale spun by imaginative storytellers. It's a fact, confirmed by historical documentations and testimonies from those who witnessed the events unfold. It all began on February 23, 1836. The Mexican army, under the command of General Santa Anna, arrived in San Antonio. The Texan defenders, vastly outnumbered, took refuge in the Alamo mission. What followed was an intense standoff that lasted 13 grueling days. The defenders of the Alamo, a motley crew of around 200 men, held their ground against a force of over 1,500 Mexican soldiers. For 13 days, they fought with unwavering courage and determination, knowing that their chances of victory were slim to none. The siege was characterized by continuous cannon and musket fire interspersed with periods of eerie silence. The defenders used these quiet intervals to repair the damage to the Alamo's walls and prepare for the next wave of attacks. On March 6th, the final assault took place. The Mexican troops breached the Alamo's walls and overwhelmed the defenders. Despite their heroic efforts, the Texans were unable to hold off the superior Mexican forces. The 13-day siege was a display of extraordinary bravery and resilience. The defenders of the Alamo knew they were fighting a losing battle, yet they chose to stand and fight, making the ultimate sacrifice for their beliefs. So the 13-day siege, it's not a myth. It's a heroic reality etched in time. This event, steeped in truth and bravery, remains an enduring symbol of resistance and sacrifice, a testament to the indomitable spirit of those who fought and fell at the Alamo. Next, we tackle the tale of Davy Crockett's last stand. Now, Davy Crockett, a man of many hats, literally and figuratively, is best known for his coonskin cap and his legendary status as a frontiersman. But his final moments at the Alamo are the stuff of folklore. Legend has it, Crockett fought to his last breath, surrounded by the bodies of at least 16 Mexican soldiers he'd taken down. A dramatic image indeed, but how accurate is it? Well, history is a tricky beast, mates. It's often a jigsaw puzzle with pieces missing, and Crockett's last stand is one such piece. There are conflicting historical accounts to consider. Some say Crockett was one of the last to fall in battle, while others claim he was captured and executed. A letter found years later, written by a Mexican officer, even suggests that Crockett and a handful of others were taken prisoner and then executed on orders of General Santa Anna. Shocking, I know. The ambiguity surrounding Crockett's fate is as thick as the Australian outback. Historians have argued over the conflicting accounts for years, with some clinging to the heroic last stand theory, while others lean towards the less heroic but perhaps more realistic capture and execution scenario. Even more tantalizing is the account of José Enrique de la Peña, a Mexican officer who claims to have seen Crockett's body among those executed. But his account was published nearly 50 years after the battle, causing many to question its authenticity. So what happened to Davy Crockett at the Alamo, you ask? Did he go down swinging, or was he captured and executed? The truth is, we may never know for certain. One thing we do know, however, is that Crockett's story, whether fact or fiction, has become an enduring symbol of bravery and defiance. Crockett's last stand, a tale of heroism, yet shrouded in mystery. Now, what about the famous line in the sand? The Alamo tale wouldn't be complete without mentioning this iconic event. Legend has it that Colonel William B. Travis, commander of the Alamo Defenders, drew a line in the sand with his sword and invited those willing to die for the Alamo to cross it. A stirring moment of defiance and unity. But is it steeped in truth or just another layer of the Alamo myth? Let's delve into this. The line in the sand story first surfaced in a letter written by Dr. William P. Zuber many years after the fall of the Alamo. It was his father, Isaac Zuber, who allegedly relayed this account. Isaac was a Texas soldier, but he wasn't at the Alamo during the siege. He heard the story from another soldier named Moses Rose, who was supposedly at the Alamo, but chose not to cross the line and hence survived. Sounds like a game of Chinese whispers, doesn't it? Well, that's because it might just be. No other survivor's account or contemporary report of the Alamo mentions the line in the sand. If such a pivotal event occurred, wouldn't someone else have mentioned it? Moreover, some historians argue that the line in the sand tale has suspicious similarities to other historical events. For instance, the Roman general Sertorius is said to have drawn a line in the sand to illustrate a point to his soldiers. Could Zuber have been inspired by this story, consciously or unconsciously? But let's not forget, history often blurs the line between fact and fiction. The truth can sometimes be lost, embellished, or changed over time. So, while we may never know for certain whether Colonel Travis drew that line in the sand, the story has etched itself into the heart of the Alamo legend. It signifies the courage, defiance, and unity of those who stood their ground at the Alamo, irrespective of their fate. The line in the sand, a stirring tale, but perhaps more fiction than fact. Finally, the lone survivor, Susanna Dickinson, myth or reality? Now, if we're talking about the Alamo, we can't possibly skip the tale of Susanna Dickinson, the woman who is said to have survived the brutal siege. A bit of a legend herself, Susanna is a central character in the Alamo's lore. But let's dig deeper and see if we can separate the woman from the myth. Born in Tennessee in the early 19th century, Susanna moved to Texas with her husband, Alamo Dickinson, a captain in the Texian army. As fate would have it, she, her husband, and their infant daughter found themselves in the thick of the siege at the Alamo. When the dust settled, Susanna and her daughter, Angelina, were among the very few survivors. Historical records and testimonies support Susanna's survival. After the battle, she was brought before General Santa Anna himself, who spared her life and even provided her with a letter of safe passage. She was then tasked with the grim duty of taking the news of the Alamo's fall to Sam Houston, the commander of the Texian army. Now you might wonder, how did Susanna manage to survive the massacre? Well, the answer lies in the chivalric code of the time, which often spared women and children. But make no mistake, her survival was not an easy feat. She endured the horror of the battle, the loss of her husband, and the daunting task of carrying the weight of the Alamo story to the world. Susanna's tale is not just about survival, but also about how she used her second chance at life to ensure the memory of the Alamo lived on. She became a messenger of the Texian cause, a symbol of resistance and resilience. In the end, the story of Susanna Dickinson is a story of a woman's strength and courage in the face of unimaginable adversity. Her narrative has been scrutinized, debated, and dramatized over the years. But one thing remains certain. Susanna Dickinson, the lone survivor, her tale stands true. So, what have we unearthed today about the Alamo myths? Well, we've certainly delved deep, haven't we? We've debunked the notion of a 13-day siege, revealing it was actually closer to 12. We've challenged the romanticized image of Davy Crockett's heroic last stand, presenting a more nuanced account of his final hours. We've also questioned the famous line in the sand story, unmasking it as more legend than fact. In addition, we've examined the tale of the lone survivor, finding it to be a blend of fact and fiction. But why are we so drawn to these myths? Perhaps it's because they embody the human spirit's resilience and courage. They make our history richer, more vibrant. Yet we mustn't forget the importance of historical accuracy. It helps us understand our past better and learn valuable lessons. In the end, the Alamo remains a symbol of courage and sacrifice, its myths and truths intertwined in the fabric of history.